Good evening, everyone. Definitely a late start, which is not inconsistent for Fridays, although I was kind of planning for a little bit more of an alert. Now, if you'll excuse me, actually, the first thing I need to do is fix my mic stand. So just one moment, if you forgive me. It's been creeping lower and lower on me. Actually, I could use a little bit more of an adjustment. It's been creeping lower and lower on me, and I've been adjusting my posture to accommodate it um, rather than the other way around. I should. It's only partially relevant to this, but I am quite tall, so um, I don't know. I wind up looking kind of like Gollum when when the microphone hits a point like that. But it's very. I just put up with too much. Basically, I tend not to try to change things around. Like I just kind of accept them where they are, which is a terrible conformist way of thinking. But anyways, that's taken care of. There's a little bit to talk about in advance, but let's jump into Age of Wonders 4, and then I'll see if I can do a slightly better job of weaving the two threads together, particularly because okay, we've got an update from GOG coming in. I don't know. It's nice to get through the game. We are still in the tutorial level, and there is actually some stuff I can talk about in terms of my brevity or lack thereof. But let's not start off with a rant at the very beginning. Um, but yeah, I'd at the very least like to get through the learning material in that. While I'm waiting for GOG to reload, it is worth mentioning here that I was given a copy of this from GOG. So they've not asked me to say anything along these lines, but obviously, having been given a key from a storefront as opposed to a developer directly, I'm sure they would appreciate it. If I mentioned that this is in fact available on the GOG storefront. In ye old days, I would have had an affiliate link through them. That is no longer the case. This is just really acknowledging the fact that they gave me a copy of the game. The selling point for a lot of GOG stuff is the DRM free side. Now, it is worth remembering that Triumph is now part of Paradox. And so there is a specific Paradox launcher which you can sort of give your ID to sign into and all of that. It's obviously not the type of DRM that people are as bothered by. I think what they're sort of thinking of is more of like kind of the Spore stuff. But yeah, just with that in mind, I have no idea. Like the thing is, that's not like a main selling feature to me for GOG. I'm perfectly happy to go on Steam and pick up a game. It's really just a question of where the games are, what the price is, and so on and so forth. I've got some GOG stuff I've got right now. Heroes of Might and Magic 3. I've never played the Might and Magic series, so Might and Magic 6 is on here. Capitalism Plus, Alpha Centauri, Spore of all things, and Warcraft. That's what I've got from GOG. So as you can see, I use a little bit more for classic games, but I know for some people that matters quite a bit, so I figured I'd mention that off the top. And of course, Triumph has been at this Age of Wonders game for a while, and I think it's a really great series, personally. But if you want to take a look at some of the previous entries, I believe GOG does have all of the previous entries from Age of Wonders 4, and then of course some of the spin-offs. Probably the most notable spin-off recently has been Planetfall, but there's definitely some gems in there. Although my preferences tend to skew modern. How you doing, Vanguard Master? I'm loading in the game. But yeah, I always like this is such a narrow thing to point out, but I'm gonna shut up for a second.
A power older than time has returned. Free from their imprisonment, Ancient wizard kings come, seeking lost magics and new realms to conquer, turning all whom they encounter, by choice or by force. Through strife, champions arise. New unities are founded. And powerful arcane knowledge unlocked. As gods and mortals clash, the forces unleashed will shape a new age of wonders.
Very weary, Vanguard Master. I'm gonna try not to let it affect the stream, but is very, very, very tired, and I've got a lot to do after the stream, but we're going to enjoy Age of Wonders 4. There is one thing I kind of wanted to say. There's a couple things that were running around on Twitter that caught my attention, and it's actually relevant to Age of Wonders 4, so apologies for canceling out the audio. That's what happens when I tab out. So there is a developer. I don't think they have anything released yet, but they have a very promising game coming out called Dark Web Streamer. Of course, we have a promising developer in chat as well, Vanguard Masters, busily working away on his game, but two very different games. So the name they go by online is Chantel Ryan. And recently they pointed out something about Starfield. In some cases, I get a bit annoyed when I read this sort of stuff because it does sometimes... So, like, I don't know, there's different ways of presenting cases like this. And ultimately, this is going to be using sort of a negative case to make a positive about Triumph Studios and how they've approached their games. But this, credit where credit's due. I'll actually link the tweets in the chat here. So this user tweets, I remain really sad that Bethesda's new IP is straightforward sci-fi rather than some fresh approach to genre. Video games revolve around high fantasy, low fantasy, and sci-fi, and I beg major new IPs to get spicy with setting. There is so much more to our worlds than this. I know sci-fi people are hyped, and I'm glad for them. I just also feel like sci-fi people have like a lot of cool big games, as do fantasy people. What about scum like us who just want open world games set in an uncolonized version of Polynesia, 1920s Louisiana? What about India and the world has physical manifestation of his Hindu gods roaming about? Fallout's future dystopia, but we're stuck in the 50s, was amazing. Dystopian retrofuturism is a cool as hell original setting. Even basic genre tropes outside of games like Vamps versus Werewolves, a la playable open world Underworld, is rife with delicious possibility. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but with a Bethesda budget? I'd cream my pants. Grim Fandango rocked manifesting Mexican folklore into an explorable world, mix modern Mexican religions in, and sorry, I'm bad at delivering the dialogue. What about an open world game entirely built on fairy tales? Should probably avoid those gingerbread houses when you see them. They're like stairs in the woods. I think my main point here is Bethesda is in the rare position that anything that they make, people will simply play. When open world games cost as much as they do, Bethesda doesn't have to worry about getting riskier with the setting in the way that other companies have to. Moral obligation for innovation. So there's like obvious objections that come to this, which is why I wanted to read the whole thread. So the objection you're probably thinking of is the one that's dealt with in the next line here. And yeah, I get that it's business to ensure that you're hitting a wide established portion of the market for something you're spending money on. But business sucks. What about culture expansion? What about contributing more to the collective lens of humanity, or at least Western society? Other cultures, even today, put a serious and tangible value on cultural capital. It might not be in dollars, but it's in social credit, etc. The value of respect, the value of being a societal role model. Some cultures and bodies within them truly value this. Why not us? And then there's like an image in short, more vibes like this. Okay, thanks. Hey, Lone Jail. Yeah, I'm actually late, so I'm happy you stopped by. I'm actually talking a little bit about some of the things I like about Age of Wonders 4. So just to be clear, right, it's a little bit like anything, retweets are not endorsements, reading it. I think there's some interesting points here. I'm not completely sold on it. So for instance, like this idea that anything that Bethesda makes, people will play. Like this is a tough one, right? Because I don't actually think that's true. um, I guess maybe the example I would take here would be Marvel's Midnight Suns. So the team that brought us XCOM gives us a very good turn-based strategy game. It's a very large experience. It is absolutely a AAA game. It's using a very popular mainstream intellectual property, and it did not perform financially. Now you might actually think, well, this is an argument against going down the old paths, right? But the problem here is, particularly if you look at the forums and things like that, the most common thing that would come up would be people are like, why isn't this XCOM? Or like, why do I need to keep talking to people in the Abbey? And like, if the game was Mass Effect, people would be talking about, oh, this is wonderful storytelling, so on and so forth. But it wasn't Mass Effect. It was Marvel's Midnight Suns, and there were a certain set of expectations in terms of the type of experience that Firaxis gives you. And so, to be honest, that's one example. But I think that would be a potential problem that Bethesda runs into if you want to do the idea of, they have a lot of money and people will follow them, so they can do anything. But with that in mind, I absolutely am on side with this idea that we can and should aspire to more. And I do actually think that there is room for people to generate interesting settings and to work on them. So I suspect probably BioShock would be a good example of this, right? And I mean, that's certainly a good example of a AAA game doing something like that. And then, I mean, in the indie space, you have a few more examples along those lines. Like, so for instance, the example she gives of Grim Fandango, which I've not played all the way through. I think that's a wonderful game. It's a wonderful idea for a setting. The challenge that we have with comparing something like LucasArts is that LucasArts is simply not on the scale that sort of a modern AAA game would be. So yeah, it's one of these tricky ones where I could say, like, so in the end, like, the thing is that Bethesda wanted to make Starfield, and in the end, it's kind of up to the creator to decide what they want to create. But as always, I definitely feel as audiences, we should probably be supporting the creators who give us something good and original, and particularly when that's something unique. So again, in the indie space, one example I like to think of this would be Moon Hunters. Moon Hunters takes a lot from mythology, but it doesn't necessarily take from the types of mythology that you would commonly think of. In this case, it's a lot of what you would sort of see in the Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia and such. So this is where you've got a giant bull with a volcano in the back and things like that. And if you've read things like Gilgamesh, these are going to be familiar stories and familiar figures. But the thing is that very few of us actually wind up reading stories like that, and it creates a freshness and perspective on top of the overall story that the developer wants to tell us. So this brings me to Age of Wonders 4. I thought one very unfair, I don't even know if it counts as a criticism of Age of Wonders of Planetfall, because I think this was said before the game was released, but some people were like, oh, it's just a sci-fi reskin of Age of Wonders 3. It absolutely was not. In fact, I believe that Age of Wonders Planetfall introduced innovations which wound up in Age of Wonders 4. And what I liked was Age of Wonders Planetfall definitely, like, in some ways followed quite conventional science fiction. And yet so many different factions were, very original, and they always had like a neat twist to things. And I feel the same with Age of Wonders 4. So, you know, there are a lot of fantasy things. I definitely feel fantasy things that we don't get enough of in terms of strategy games. So, you know, like, I don't really think a lot of fantasy strategy games at the scale that Age of Wonders handles do the going into realms, seeking out, you know, treasures. I don't think they actually do that all that well. I think Age of Wonders 4 does it very well. I think, what was it? Endless Legend definitely has something like that, but I don't think they quite get the, you know, going into dungeons, facing danger in order to get the reward. I don't think that's quite as present. But even little things, right? Like, I like the fact that I can do mole men, and I can do frog people and all of that. I actually really like the fact that you get to customize the ruler, and the customization in number 4 seems to be expanded to a very high degree. And also some of the enemies that you go up against, right? So dire penguins and such. There's a lot of personality to this game. So I will confess, the one thing that actually really attaches me to Triumph is their Dutch. There's a wonderful long history of Canada-Dutch. Is there a proper term for Canada-Dutch relations? Anyways, a great friendship between the two countries. And like I said, I go by the statue of the man with two hats, and we still have some lovely tulips around the city as a result of the annual gift that the Netherlands gives to us. You know, I'm sure there are mean people in Dutchland too. No, there are mean people in the Netherlands as well. I just haven't run into them. But maybe I'd find them when I call it Dutchland. But yeah, I did kind of want to take a minute to talk a little bit about the originality of the Age of Wonders setting, because I mean, this series has been around for a while now. It's I think 2.5 decades or so, and it's a you know, they keep building on it, but it's also one of these things where you sort of like, there's a lot of indie games coming out now. Obviously, Triumph is now a subsidiary of a kind of medium-sized publisher, but there's a lot of indie games coming out, and I don't really know if they're innovating on genre quite the way that you would sort of say, like, in a world before Age of Wonders 4, what would your comparison be for an Age of Wonders 4? And probably it'd be something like Heroes of Might and Magic or something like that. But even then, like, you're kind of looking, well, it's not exactly like that, you know. It does kind of feel often a lot of the indies that I play tend to fit in very neat categories, and they don't necessarily have to. And it's one of the things I appreciate a lot about the Age of Wonders games is there's always something in there that I feel is new and kind of excites me. So I got clobbered by a very difficult enemy, so I'm actually going to revert a little bit. I don't like doing this in strategy games. I do think taking my lumps is not a bad approach. But I'm gonna see. I think maybe we'll load up on our mana first, and then we can use the opportunity to clear out Marauders. Yeah, especially because we're not that strong, so. Anyways, how are all of you tonight? We could also try Clawmark Cave here. I may not actually want to have all these units together, but what is it? We've got a Spell Shield, Gore-Tusk Piglets, a Zealot, and a Light Seeker. That's not a terrible group to have together. Let's clear out. That counts as a risky battle, huh? Let's give it a shot. spiders. Actually, maybe the better question to ask at the start would be, how many of you are Age of Wonders fans? Lone Jail says, super fine, very nice talk. You're always super insightful about the gaming industry. Well, thank you for that. I actually, really close to finishing an article, but there is some really terrible news that came out today. I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but maybe an opportunity to talk about it now. And the challenge with that is there's a way of presenting certain ideas that kind of come off as I told you so, or like, maybe this is not the time to make this particular point. So I may kind of delay the release of this thing just so that I can give some people time to think about it. You heard about it a week ago, and your friend. Oh, so like you've never heard of like the series at all, other than that. Interesting. Because I know we did Planetfall. I like Planetfall quite a bit. But yeah. So the bad news. Interesting. The bad news is. Brace Yourself Games, obviously wonderful friends of the channel, and people I have a lot of respect for as game developers, unfortunately have laid off half of the company. Yep, Age of Wonders Planetfall was Age of Wonders. It's kind of a sci-fi spin-off in the series, but it definitely counts. So I did get a little advance warning on this. You know what? That's not the right call. I think we lock down as many people as we can. But yeah, so I got a little bit of advanced warning on this, but I didn't. It's one of these things, right? Like you don't want to talk about. Like there's a time and a place, and more importantly, there's there's kind of a protocol. It's people's jobs. You don't want to take sort of a private conversation and turn that into a into a news thing. Like, and my view is if you're breaking that story, you've done something wrong. If you notice it on Twitter, you're a reporter, that's fine. If you're somebody having a personal conversation with a friend, that's maybe not such a good thing. But obviously, Brace Yourself. First of all, absolutely wonderful people. They invited me out to Vancouver for one of their Halloween parties. I got the chance to meet a lot of them and a lot of other game developers who I have a lot of respect, still have a lot of respect for. And they've made some really wonderful games. They've done Crypt of the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, Industries of Titan, and Phantom Brigade most recently. Rift of the Necrodancer is on its way. The games that they're releasing under their publishing label are Godless, which we played on Wednesday, Cobalt Core, and Super Raft Boat Together. Those are still on their way. I believe there will be continued development on Phantom Brigade. I believe that was listed in the PC Gamer article on it. And there's an unannounced project that's continuing, but unfortunately they had a number of They had a number of projects in development, and those are currently shelved. I actually feel a little bit better. I had a suspicion that one of them potentially could have been a 4X game, or at the very least, sort of a hex-based strategy game. And there's nothing to say. That's not godless, obviously. And I have reason to believe if that was what it was, that would be one of the projects that was shelved. But I don't know, because again, like, I don't cross that line in terms of having a nice chat with people and then all of a sudden asking about things that aren't out there. But obviously it's very, very sad because there are a number of people, like I said, I did get to meet as part of doing their games. I know a lot of them are looking for work, so for those of you that may happen to be in a position to make some recommendations, I would love it if I can get some recommendations, to pass along to people. And naturally, I wish for the best, especially for the people who are left. Like, that's not necessarily a great position to be in. One of those people left over at the end. I've genuinely been debating as to whether or not I reach out to people over this, and I've kind of decided against it unless I see them speaking first, basically. There were a couple people who I was talking to and didn't realize what had happened, and then, afterwards we were talking, but yeah, in this case here, especially for a couple people who might be in a more public-facing role on that, I think they're going to be getting a lot of messages. And I don't feel great about it, right? Because you do want to be supportive for people if you can, but I also want to make sure that people are given the space that they need. But I'm definitely hoping that the company gets in a better spot from it, and that and that the people who are affected, because again, it's half. There was about 40 people there, I think, last I checked. I'm hoping that they don't have a hard time finding a replacement. Okay, the Fanatic's going to be in a bit of trouble here. I think it's not a bad idea to condemn here. That kind of gives us a fighting chance against the spiders, and of course it does improve the Star Shield unit. So I can use my pigs now. This is not a bad option to charge strike the spiders here because they don't have the defense. Alternatively, we can put some really heavy damage on these spiders here. I think, though, we should weaken these guys because their damage goes down by dragging their health down. Sadly, gaming industry is super competitive, so these kind of things happen. It really is a bummer. Absolutely. And I mean, the thing is that Brace Yourself is a very... they're very thoughtful in terms of the types of projects that they take on and what they do. Because it is so difficult to... Ooh. I don't think I planned that very carefully. My poor piggies. That's gonna kill my guys. Oh, well, they're dead anyway. Yeah, so they definitely, Ryan Clark, the founder of Brace Yourself, has got a really good video out on hooks. I think we're going to try that again. I feel like I can do better than losing 2 units. But yeah, he's got a very good video on sort of hooks for games and sort of how Brace Yourself tries to mitigate the risk in game development. I will confess, the one thing I really didn't care for out of all of this was there's a few people commenting on like the PC Gamer piece. I'm like, "Oh, Brace Yourself, that was a good name," and it's like, you know, maybe now's not the time. Like, really, is like this was this the funniest you've ever been online? Like, was this the one where you needed to say something, kind of callous, not kind, something callous, you know, during a really bad piece of news for people? Like, come on. But it's the internet. I don't know why I should have expected differently. This is a slightly different approach from last time. So it occurred to me, one advantage that I have here, I suppose, is that I can actually choose how I engage with these units, right? Like, I don't have to go charging in. We could actually attack them at a distance. I think it's probably better for me to still, like, weaken them and take them down. However, I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with the spells, so... In this case, we will go for Condemnation here, and essentially the Fanatic is going to lock down the spiders here. Okay, so it looks like I need to slightly adjust how I'm setting up that turn. Okay, so unfortunately we didn't get to stun, but we do get a nice heavy hit on the spiders at the start. So my shield unit is going to be flanked, but we've done some heavy damage to the unit here. This one's in reasonably good shape. More importantly, the Fanatic sort of tied down this unit, so I think we're in a lot better shape than we were at the second time, or at the second turn in the previous run. So yeah, they're really focusing down the shield unit, so I need to make sure that I deliver on some kills. Okay, so first things first, we definitely want to beat the crap out of these guys. Okay, that's great, so I'm going to be able to bring these guys back into the fight. So, yeah, we do get to take these guys out, which is good. So the next question is, which of these two units do I want to do damage to? Now, it seems to me like I can get the flank here, so we'll whittle these guys down. So the critical thing to remember here is that I'm still flanked, which may not bode well for the spell shield, but like in this case I kind of know what I'm up against, and so I want to see whether or not I'm going to lose the unit as a result. So on the turn there. It's not looking good, but there's a lot of grays because of morale. We may die to the poison. Okay, so first things first, let's clear out what we can with the flanks. not quite where it needs to be for the attack. So, plan B. This is obviously is going to this is going to prevent us from losing a unit, so it's worth it in this case. Oh, nice. So the crit crit made it worth it. I spent more mana than I wanted, but okay. Battle won by Dafal Day, and we get a Bone Wyvern. Cool. So we're gonna have to spend some time healing up here, unfortunately, but definitely a better round than before. See, I'm trying to think why I wouldn't want to ride. Although there's that puppy, I'm kind of curious what the deal is with that. And I think in this case here, I actually want to clear out this ritual circle first, then we're going to head back and clear out the rest of this. Okay, so these guys are just scouts, so we're going to figure out... Actually, I don't think it'll hurt to take a look at the underground passage, so let's see what's going on here. Okay, there's the Inferno puppy, so if I want, I can make them join the scouts. I don't necessarily want to, but there's not a whole lot for them to do on their own, so I'll just add them. We'll figure out the rest. And here, we'll wait one turn so we can heal up. I'm not quite sure what the rate of healing is like. And if we want, I can summon another Zealot, which I might as well do here. It's going to cost me a bit of mana per turn, which maybe isn't such a good thing, but... I consider you my friend, exalted Lord Dafal Day. Together we shall prosper. So I could do a declaration of friendship for 100 gold. Yeah, we might as well. That's actually not a bad investment. Oh, an upkeep of 10. That's a little bit more. So a modifier that slowly increases towards plus 300 will be added to your relations with the ruler. Any grievance against the ruler will be reduced by 40%. When two rulers declare friendship with each other, their active diplomatic treaty... Each active diplomatic treaty will have increases to the maximum relations bonus by 25 up to 400. You know what? I'll give it a shot. So you seek friendship with the arcane Tigrans. We shall see. Perhaps you prove worthy. So Wizard's Bond, both rulers agree to a Wizard's Bond to improve empire relations and access new treaties in the diplomatic states. I don't mind this. Fate brings us together once more. What questions burden you, Dafaldea? Yeah, I'm not interested in paying them off, but... They'll be mad when I vassalize Oraculum, but it's worth it.
You have just gained or caused a grievance against another ruler. These are used to justify wars. You could also forgive them to improve your relations.
Your wars need to be justified, otherwise they are considered evil. Your war justification is determined by your grievances and can be inspected by hovering over the skull icon in the diplomacy overview. Okay, so let's think about what we want to build in Dawnspire. So defensive structures in the main city is tempting. Like, at some point I am going to need to build these. The question is now the time to do that, right? Definitely we've got big improvements for... So I guess maybe the better way for me to think about this is what are the things I'm trying to accomplish here? So growth is always good, and actually I think at 50 it had sort of said that we were short on food, so we may want to consider it. However, our production and our draft is relatively low as well, so any of these are good. More cash, more mana would be good as well. But I'm particularly interested in the stuff that is boosted. So the stonemason will improve my production, which is good, but for that I need 2 farms, and we do want the food income anyway, so perhaps we wait on that. Tavern improves city stability. Now I think we're pretty happy with the stability. I don't know if it's going up every turn, but at the very least it's not going down. 10 population to boost the Pantheon Town Hall, so I'll avoid that. Vendor will improve gold income. Mind you, that's just by an 1/8, so maybe as a percentage it's not that good. I am still holding back on mana. So of the things that I need right now, I think the Lightforge actually makes some sense. And what we're going to be working towards is a farm. I can spend Imperium to boost my my population, but honestly, it's 1 turn, so I'm not that worried about it. Okay, so it's not my... Like, I'll be honest, it's not my favorite choice to go for the farms, but I think that it will actually help me in the long run. So I'll start with farms. I don't know if a conduit is something that I can build. Conduit is a base province improvement with the following benefits. Okay, so I do want to build a conduit at some point. But yeah, the farms are actually the thing that's sort of holding us back right now. Again, spending mana, but in order to improve productivity in the city. I don't know what these magic materials do. Fireforge stone. Fireforge stones are said to be the remnants of a volcano's heart. They emanate heat eternally, resisting all attempts to quench their warmth. Weapons can be more efficiently forged when using the magically enhanced temperance of these stones. Fangir Rockborn, Journals of the Second Age, Part 1. Unique global effect. Units cost 20% less draft. So we got that from Oraculum. Cool.
Without walls and garrisons, your cities are vulnerable. Be sure to maintain your defenses and keep an army ready to guard the walls, lest the enemy take your beloved cities.
So I can see the sense in that, but right now we're beside a bunch of, allied units, so Okay, so looks like this isn't sleeping anymore, so we may need to get a little more serious with the with defending the territory. Rainbow clover. So the rainbow clover, when lending its scintillating aspect to any setting, has been found to promote feelings of camaraderie and fellowship among those who gaze upon it. Once a notable feature at many halfling tribes' feasts and mead halls. Hambinger, Mead and Meadows, a halfling's guide to merrymaking. Unique global effect, plus 100 relations with free cities and rulers. Alright, our diplomatic state with Oraculum is now vassalage. The free city shares 30% of its income, shares all its magic materials. So let's see, magic materials are resource nodes that provide bonus effects to your empire, as well as provide city income. These bonus effects can be traded to other empires and free cities. If all magic materials of the type are collected, they will provide an additional powerful bonus. The following bonuses are available: Imperial Essence, Cosmoflux Elixir, and Rings of Binding. Contributes 2 to the Rally of Lieges. This is where you can draft units into your empire or to help defend vassal cities using recruitment points. The pool of available units consists primarily of units made available to you by loyal cities and explored ancient wonders. The number of units available depends on how many recruitment points you have available. Rallies will be held every 15 turns, and only at that point will the pool of units and the number of points you can spend refresh. You can, however, use a boost to have the amount of remaining turns once per rally. Trading costs are at default levels. Next up, bonded vassalage. The free city shares 40% of its income, shares all its magical materials, 3 for the Rally of Lieges, and trading costs decrease by 10%. Just bear with me a second here. I'm trying to upgrade my instance of Anaconda, and it hasn't been going so well. That's one of the things that delayed me. We may not be so different after all, Defal. Your actions are promising. By all means, continue. So now we're at positive relations. Enamru Enkam has a personal preference for your actions of empires that don't break treaties. This improves your relations by 150. Cool. So if we... I'm not paying for that. I think I'm happy to keep them at arm's length right now. Okay, orders time. Again, we're kind of working on the ritual circle here. There's a temptation to take out the monsters on the way, but I think probably it would not be a bad idea for me to limit the damage I take. Now, clearly this unit could stand for some more healing, but the monster den is awakened, so we don't get to pick the fight. Oop. Meeting Hostile Sublime. Magistrate Marilee Glorium of the Free City of Sublime greets you with hostility. We High Moles of Sublime will fight for our freedom and stand against anyone who threatens our free city, even when they are led by an exalted lord like you. The blood of invaders, thieves, and spies will nourish the fields. You are at war with... so. Inspect the insolent Sublime. Oh, I was going to say, so be it, but I guess I don't need to. Okay, so this is going to be a tougher fight than it originally appeared. But I'm still going for it, because we do need to clear the threat. Oh, interesting. We are not able to fight them. An evil presence lingers in these lands. Nature is seldom good or evil. It is hungry, territorial, and protective of its young. Nests and dens such as these are home to various beasts of the wild, whose natural ferocity and power of tooth, claw, or beak may prove more than a match for the sharpest steel. You have encountered a hostile free city. They are independents that can be vassalized, integrated, or conquered. The city is at war with you. You can defeat them through conquest or negotiate a peace, after which you can give them a whispering stone to start building a relationship with them. Well, looks like I can't make peace right away, and it would be good for me to sort things out, because this is my main military force. Like, it's going to take us a while to bring Dawnspire up to a full army. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's not too surprising, although it does seem to indicate that we are very likely going to lose. Okay. Ego Karen, how you doing? Good to see you again. If you can give me a second here, I'm actually going to need a second to sort something out on my end here. I don't think it needs a full break, but I am going to... I just want to get something running in the background here. Okay, sorry about that. It's been some time. How am I? A little busy now. There was something I was working on prior to streaming. That actually, you know what? If you don't mind, I'm gonna take a very small break. I know you just came. I know you just came in here, but it's actually gonna be helpful for me if I can just clear this out of the way and get the install going while I'm on the broadcast. And it actually lets me. I'm just finishing a coffee here, but I figure I can get a tea as well. So I'm sorry, because I know it's been a while, and it'd be great to chat with you again. But I think now we're about an hour into the broadcast, so it wouldn't be a bad time for me to get that out of the way, and then we can do this battle where I'm probably going to wind up clobbered. So if you folks don't mind, I am just going to take a minute to kind of settle things for myself. I am so sorry about how long that took. There are a couple messages related to what we talked about before that I wanted to deal with, so I apologize. Let's see what we're up against first. So we've got a Wild Speaker. They can do defense, which is fine. Poison Blast. What I'm interested in is whether or not they can heal. They can't, but they can summon a unit, and that's going to be a problem. So I do want to prioritize taking this unit out. These are ranged, so on their own they're not... Like, if I can close the gap, we're fine, but that's a big if. The one thing we do have working for us is the... would be the woods. So let's do our best. Actually, that's not the way to think about this. Oh, come on. Yeah, so this is already a problem. I can't really get them... Okay, no. Here's what we do. We just take this very cautiously. The only thing I'm worried about here is that the more time I give, the more opportunity the more time I take, the more opportunity I give the unit to summon something. But I really don't think there's an alternative for us, so... not where I want to be. Well, you know what? It won't matter. So I'm just trying to take advantage of the shield here. Oh, does he not grant the... There we go. So I'm curious to see what these independents are up to. Yeah, so that is not a surprise. So one thing we might want to do is try and close the distance to a point where we can engage the spider. We do also have a small advantage here in the sense that I do get to start putting condemnation down on people too. So in this case, I think we're going to say mana is no object. We want to get some advantages in this fight. So presumably they're going to move their ranged units. It's still pretty heavy given, or hang on, they may not be in cover. Okay, so this is where we move in. One thing I do want to do is put down condemnation on the strengthened unit. Nope, that was a dumb thing to do. So I condemned it, but the fanatic's not going to be the one that that hits it. And there's no way for me to undo it, unfortunately. So, thing is, I don't think this unit... I can try and get them to stun, but I actually think they're better placed in the background right now. I might try another round on this combat, or another, like a reset on this combat, but I don't think I can reset partway through, unless they just change that. Okay, well, let's try and recover what we can. There's a couple ranged units that can cause some troubles here, but this is, like, as far as a defensive position is concerned, this is not a terrible spot for us to be in. Now that's a bit surprising because they're already condemned. Okay. So there's a few things that we can do here. I wish I could get a slightly better read on the status effects affecting it. So like we can kind of see these symbols up here, but it's not immediately clear to me what. Okay, so the skulls are what I care about. So first of all, we can't kill anything with the condemned, which again, that's fine. One question might be, okay, so we can take this unit out, so we'll start there. So that obviously opens up possibilities for us. So the first thing I want to do would be to condemn this unit so that we can enhance the damage the Fanatic's going to do to it. I'm slightly curious what happens with this. Stink Flowers, distracting. Units passing through or ending their turn will become distracted for 1 turn. So I have 2 options. I can go Charge Strike the Wild Speaker. Now that opens up a Quill Shot from the Razorback. We can't kill it, so I think I am actually going to do the charge. Just because this can summon stuff, right? So I want to be careful about what I'm up against. The other thing I'm going to do, this is sort of ill-advised, but I'm actually going to try and go for... Hang on. Yeah, I'm going to try and go for a stun here. Okay. So we'll do the damage that we can. Okay, not great. One advantage we do have is there's a lot of units that are condemned now, and you've got a couple of Fanatics that are going to be running in. This is the most dangerous unit on the board right now. And part of the goal right now is to keep these units alive. He says as he loses a Fanatic. Not good. So this maximizes the damage from the boars. Yeah, we really don't have anything going for us here. We'll put a brave face on it, though. Now this is interesting, so I may be able to... No. I think we'll do the damage that we can. Yikes. So this has gone from maybe being able to squeak this out to perishing. If we're gonna make it, it's by focusing down on the enemies. So. Although I'm pretty sure that this is gonna we'll lose both units next turn, I suspect. Yeah. So we'll give that one more shot. It's, it's not an easy fight for sure, but definitely I should be expecting a bit more of myself in these engagements. So for instance, the original sin here was I did have an advantage with my fanatics, which I completely squandered. So that's going to be something I want to work on moving forward. The other thing that I want to do is I'm actually going to try to be a little more aggressive in terms of my movement. That may be a questionable choice. In the long run, but I want to see if we can make something happen out of that. There's a couple units that'll get protection as a result of this. Not everything, but I want to see if they come in closer as a result. So again, no surprise that they brought in spiders off of that. Looks like they're kind of going hard to the right here. That's going to be challenging to deal with, but not impossible. So we've got a fanatic to deal with the spiders right away. Unfortunately, we are going to be pretty exposed moving in. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very risky approach. But I have some ideas. So this may serve me very poorly, but the premise here is we're going to run in and sort of choke off their range as quickly as we can, and essentially we're relying on the shield wall to get us to cross that distance. That's a lot of damage we just took, though. Yeah, that might have proven too costly. Okay, so one big thing we can do here is try and stun the enemy. Okay, so that actually works pretty well, because we can condemn the strengthened unit. And we'll beat them up with our fanatic. So the nice thing here is that we're also locking down this ranged unit. So, we're not out of the woods, so to speak, but I feel like this is a slightly stronger position than before, even though we're down the Fanatic. Not good for the shield bearer, though. Yeah, so they've done too much to us. I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure how we survive. So this is a full strength unit that's going to turn around and flank them. But I just don't know. I just don't know what my alternative is here. Yep. And low morale is gonna hurt us a lot. So I can't even kill this unit with the Quill Hide now. There's really nothing for me to do here, but I'll maybe give this one more shot, and then yeah. I'm not crazy about the fact that I'm resetting so many turns. Like, battles I can handle, but I'm actually probably going to go back one more turn. Because if I'm going to be forced to do this combat, I might as well, you know, do it on my terms. So, closing the distance definitely seems like the right call. And again, the spiders aren't a surprise. The big question is, how do we wind up locking all these units into position? Because, like, we're basically in the exact situation that caused us so much trouble last time. So I suppose one potential option here, and it's a really crummy one. So you can do something like this. So the intention here is to, like, the fanatic may be sacrificed here, but this is just to try and distribute a bit more condemnation on people. So for instance, see, I was hoping I'd be able to go in and stun. I think the unit that needs the help is the defender here, so this is the most likely condemnation target given the where the fanatic is. It's not clear. Yeah, this isn't. Well, I think hitting him in the back still makes sense. So I still don't think this is a winning position, but I think we're in better position than we were before. And yeah, ignoring this unit just lets them buff. So maybe one of the answers here is we condemn this unit. So I'm curious about something. If I do this... Okay, that doesn't work. Maybe something like this. That didn't really seem to do all that much. Yeah, there's too much damage I can do with this. Well, theoretical damage. Yeah, we're not doing well. Honestly, at this point, let's load the game. So, 15 may not be appropriate. Well, we'll see what happens here. Oh, 14 is probably more appropriate. Adding another zealot is easy, as is healing up. My goodness, we've got a number of people here. So we've got Saturn with 34 people. We've got Cozy Worm Depression. Saturn, our gracious host. Daedalus. I am unaccustomed to... It's been a while since I've gotten a raid from someone, so I have to assume that you've been doing Age of Wonders 4, and I must confess I am not familiar with your stuff. So let me just take a second here to get the... No, I completely understand. Thank you very much for the raid. If you want, I'd love it if you... sorry, thank you whoever followed. Feel free to let us know what you're about, because I'm going to do a terrible job of talking about your stuff. But, you know, if you just want to Vamoose, thank you very much. Everybody from Saturn Stream. So just one thing I should let you know. I love the Age of Wonders series. I've been making a meal of the tutorial, and one thing I should just caution you about is I talk a lot. So my progress tends to be quite slow and methodical, some might call tedious. So I tremendously appreciate it when people give a host and you come along. I think, that speaks very well of the broadcaster that you are coming along with. But I completely understand that my stuff is not for you. But I'd love it if you'd hang out and we get a chance to chat about the game and experience this new game for me, at least new together. But with that in mind, like I said, you sign up for one thing just because somebody hosts someone doesn't mean that you will necessarily need to. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person that they host is for you. So I get it, and I really appreciate you showing that support for Saturn. But if somebody would like to talk about what they do, I figured the very least that I can do is let other people know what the other Age of Wonders streamers are up to. And the main reason for that is I've done this game the last couple of Fridays, but my normal Friday game is a game that's currently in a beta called Book of Hours. It's by the people who did Cultist Simulator. So I do like this game, and I'll be getting back to it. I'm very grateful for GOG for sending me the key. But I do want to make sure that if people are here just for Age of Wonders 4, if I can make a recommendation for people to check out a broadcaster, it's nice to be able to show that support. Saturn is a filthy casual that plays any game he can get his hands on. All right, I have a great respect for variety. And Cozy Warm Depression, I'm assuming they were playing Age of Wonders 4. Are you an Age of Wonders fan yourself? Also, some of you may just be here for the lurk, so please don't feel an obligation to chat, but... Okay, so the Monster's Den is woken up, so we're still going to work on healing our people. In fact, it's probably a bad idea for me to summon that Zealot, because that's going to be dragging down my magic, but I'm committed to it now. We are still going to move our leader up into the ritual circle. That's not exactly a direct threat to us, but if I just keep them... Like, I'm not the Grand Old Duke of York. I'm not going to run them all over the place. Been addicted to this game. Well, I mean, again, I'm a big fan of the Age of Wonders series. I played quite a bit of Age of Wonders 3, not on stream, though. Very much enjoyed Planetfall. And I really, really like what they've brought for Age of Wonders 4. And even just the little things, like I love the fact that I'm able to play the frog people. Because like beyond Warhammer with the lizard men, I can't really think of a lot of amphibian races that I get to play. And it's just one of these examples where, obviously Triumph seems to always include some form of dire penguin. But I really appreciate the imagination that goes into the Age of Wonders series. And just... even though it's a very old series in many ways, it's one that seems to have... it's one that, continues to find new things to add. It actually kind of makes me wonder why there are not more games like it. And I mean, it is kind of a one-of-a-kind game, but I really feel that there are some elements of the fantasy genre that it implements better than any other fantasy game. And they seem like the sort of thing that you'd imagine would have gotten, wider attention. Never really played them. Not a 4X player. Okay, I'm a massive fan of the Civilization. But anything 4X is pretty much my thing. It's got a frog with a unicorn mount. I've actually got a frog on a bone wyvern, so I feel that we're in common cause. Now I am curious if anybody is an Age of Wonders maven. I've never quite been able to figure out the healing rate for my units. Does anybody offhand know what that is? Normally I like to figure stuff out for myself, but I have looked and I haven't been able to sort this out for myself. So okay, I think we went for the Light Forge this time, or last time. This is from the integration. I don't feel good about it, but I am going to put Fanatical Workforce on Dawnspire. All right, negotiations update. We've vassalized Oraculum. That's also caused a grievance. I think we had already declared friendship, yes. And we weren't ready to open borders with them yet because I'm not doing that kind of exploration. Do you have a build idea for this run? Not really, Many Song, because I've not. This is the tutorial level, and I've played Age of Wonders before, but this is kind of me figuring it out. We've struggled a bit with the small monster den here when it's got its 2 reinforcements. Part of that's brought on by the fact that my spell shield could use some more health. Plus 25 in friendly regions and plus 5 other. I appreciate that, Reactor. Now, one question I have actually is, how did you find that? Was that just a matter of like looking at the like the HP between turns, or is that written down somewhere and I just didn't notice it? One of the reasons why I've always been reluctant on the backseating thing is that I like the process of learning a game, and part of that is understanding how games communicate ideas to me. But this was an example where I sort of actively looked for a piece of information and couldn't actually pick it up from the game, so that's definitely a gap that I was looking to settle. In terms of builds, one thing I have noticed... Oh, that's good. They've divided their forces. So, one of the things I have noticed is with the with our crusading frogs, there does seem to be something nice with condemning people and then either letting my fanatics or my blessed units sort of wrap everything up. So that's kind of how I've been working into that. But that's less of a build, and that's more just taking advantage of something that I've observed in terms of the combat. And obviously the way that I've been working through this is that if I get defeated, I'll try and retry it. If I feel like I'm in a spot where I've gone too far behind, I'll reload the level. And then the aim here is to just sort of work my way up so that I'm playing the game consistently. I'm accepting losses when I incur them and move on. But in the end, it's easy to sort of, grumble about losing an army to a careless decision and then just feel like you're not learning in the game. So I'm definitely allowing myself to reload quite frequently. All right, Harbingers of Misfortune and Counterquest deal with 2 corrupt souls. A distraught member of the Crusading Croakers Council requests an urgent meeting. Terrible news, my exalted lord. Our scouts have reported sightings of an army of corrupt souls roaming our lands. Our forebears told legends of these creatures, that they are bringers of death, and that seeing such a creature heralds 77 years of bad luck. We must drive it away immediately to prevent unrest in our cities. The Crusading Croakers will panic when they notice corrupt souls are nearby. Quickly, O exalted lord, you must dispatch them. So no need to panic, I will take care of the corrupt souls. Educate yourselves. Witless beliefs of the Crusading Croakers must be announced. Decline the quest. No, definitely not. Or I don't have time for the superstitious nonsense. We will... Also, I think we're the Crusading... Yeah. I will accept it, but I'm probably not going to deal with it right away because I do want to clear out these marauders first. Ah, here we go. Yes, I see exactly what you're saying now. So, I think what I tried to do was mouse over health, but not in this screen. So, hit points represent the amount of damage a unit can take before it dies. Most units will take casualties as their hit points drop. I do know that casualties, as your unit takes casualties, their damage goes down. Cool. And then presumably, I would find out the 5 just by moving into enemy territory. So I suppose the question for us here would be, do we want to try and take out the den right away, or do we deal with the splinter group? I kind of feel like taking out the den first would be a good idea. As by tradition, you are drunk and tired. Enjoy the rest of your stream. It was nice to hear your voice again. Thank you very much, Ego Karen. I know I didn't give you a whole lot because I had... for those of you, actually, this might be some news that's relevant to you. I consider... Thank you for whoever just followed. I have no idea why the alert is not popping up the way that it is, so I wish I could thank all of you individually. Sadly, I'm not able to see those names, but I really do appreciate the follows. I thank you for that. Yeah, so one thing, some of you may be interested in this. I do consider Brace Yourself Games, the developer and now publisher, some friends. And sadly, there was some really terrible news that came. It was yesterday, but the news has broken now, so I feel able to sort of talk about this a bit more. They did experience layoffs, and the estimate is that potentially half of the firm was let go. And I mean, any business that picks up those workers will be very lucky because they are an incredibly talented group of people. But it's now with the news. I needed to get some stuff done during the break, and then I saw a few messages related to that. So it feels like the sort of thing that you need to go on. But for those of you who have not checked out Brace Yourself stuff, they're the people who make Industries of Titan, Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer, Phantom Brigade. There's an unannounced project they're still working on, and I believe they're continuing to develop Rift of the Necrodancer, and they're continuing development on Phantom Brigade, it sounds like. But obviously that was some sad news, which I don't know. For those of you who like variety stuff, I feel like Brace Yourself is definitely one to keep an eye on, even though sadly there was some bad news from that. Okay, so I don't feel that we're ready to take on spiders. We can actually get an estimate. 275 versus 87. That is definitely not something we can take on. Now, I don't think there's an effective way that I can move that saves me from the combat. I might be able to sneak over here, but it's not the sort of thing I would want to reset a turnover. So maybe we just run away and figure out what to do next. Now, this is probably a home defense force, so I think we're just going to keep them here. Might be an idea to clear out the marauders, but yeah, I think I'm going to make them camp. Okay, so the question here is, can I run away from the fly? Can I pick up the gold stash and still be able to run away? Probably not. So we'll come back with an army. We'll save them for later. And I suppose my options here are to munch on the guard here or head straight to the ritual circle. I think probably go and strip the ritual circle is the ideal. That is a really strong army. Well, it would be good practice. Okay. Meeting Hostile Sublime. Magistrate Merrill Glorium of the Free City of Sublime greets you with hostility. We High Moles of Sublime will fight for our freedom and stand against anyone who threatens our free city, even when they are led by an exalted lord like you. The blood of invaders, thieves, and spies will nourish the fields. You're at war with Sublime. Let's inspect the insolence. No, hang on. We did that last time, so be it. Ah. Now that's a problem, because I suspect what's going to happen here is this unit's going to move in, and they'll double up in terms of the attack. Now, I don't seem to have an undo option here, so what I'll do is I'll cross the turn over, but I may redo the turn. I think I ran into this problem last time as well. Okay, we've got Dormant Enchantment. Grants non-high guard units Guardians if it's a polearm unit. Shield of Light if it's a shield unit. Seeking Missiles if range. And the Awakened ability. Okay, so I feel like that will affect the...
You have acquired enough arcane skills to choose a new tome to add to your research library. Additional tomes will expand the selection of arcane skills available to you.
Selecting 2 tomes from the current tier will unlock new, more powerful tomes. To unlock the highest tiers of tomes, you will also need a large amount of a specific affinity. Every tome grants a collection of spells and other upgrades to research. Read the summaries and pick a tome that fits your playstyle. Okay, so I've been really looking forward to this. I'm curious to see what we can get here. So we've got Tome of Warding. Specialize in magic that protects your units from damage and retaliates against enemies that attack you. So there is something of an argument for something that would heal me, but this isn't healing. This is shielding. Tome of Evocation grants excellent and cheap attack spells to any aspiring wizard. Now that would be helpful in the sense that, you know, you'll notice in a lot of the battles that we've been running into, we've sort of had these like weakened units, but we're really struggling to seal the deal. So I can see how this might help us out. Lightning Focus makes base magic attacks of the enchanted units +2 lightning damage. 30% chance of inflicting electrified, fulmination. Enemy units in a 1 hex radius sustained 15 lightning damage, so that would be helpful when they've got those clusters of ranged units that we're dealing with lightning blades. Enchanting. Summon Lesser Storm Spirit, so more variation in terms of units. We can get a Battle Mage with an offensive Chain Lightning. Now I suspect if Chain Lightning does what I would expect that it does... Yeah, unit and 2 others within 3 hexes. So this, there is something about Tome of Evocation that seems interesting. Astral Affinity, the affinity of an empire is an indication. So Astral Affinity seeks to unravel the cosmic powers and harness the pure magic that shapes reality, associated with scrying illusions, enchantment, summoning, and meta magic. It is opposed by Materium. Empires are free cities with opposing okay. Might be useful to see. So we're currently focusing on order. Presumably we can't look at chaos. Maybe we can. And we have a minor amount of nature. Lightning Turret. All units sustain 20 lightning damage and suffer -2. Okay. Tome of Pyromancy. Specialize in high fire damage by inflicting and exploiting burning. Now again, I'm not quite sure what happens when we have 2 contradictory powers. Summon a Magma Spirit and a Pyromancer. Definitely very strong damage. So I'm not opposed to this. Tome of the Horde turns your cheapest units into large deadly armies, specialize in summoning and buffing tier 1 units, so all friendly tier 1 units become 1 strengthened, plus 10% damage, stacks up to 5 times. Houndmaster that summons warhounds. Spawnkin, target race smaller, more numerous, increased number of units in a formation. Presumably that helps with the casualties. Blaze the Horde, 3 fire... Oh, interesting. So 3 fire damage for each friendly tier 1 unit, and then 2 fire damage for each non-tier 1 unit. Interesting. And then summons a random non-scout tier 1 unit that can be produced in a city on a target hex. Okay, I mean, possibilities there, but let's maybe avoid, where I can, things that are... Like, unless it really sells me on the... like contradicting order, maybe we'll skip over that. Okay. Copper Golem. So this is Tome of Enchantment. Presumably this is the thing about just making your fists harder to punch things even more. Well-tempered shields gain resistances. Now we're already kind of focused on resistance with our existing tome, I believe.
I would never want to.
Thank you, whoever followed. Sorry about that. Like I said, we do. I do take a while to think things through, so apologies for those. Well, presumably the people who don't care for it have since moved on. But Tome of Rocks, smash your enemies with force of stone, specializing in increasing your defense and dealing physical damage. Again, we've already kind of got things about protection, so I'm a little more reluctant to. Oh, I should also be paying attention to these initial bonuses. So Central Quarry will improve our production, obsidian weaponry, melee and physical attacks. I'm going to skip over the Tome of Rock for now, just because I do see some nature, which obviously already lines up with our existing affinities, so I'm curious what this will give us. So nature affinity is... energies of life, promoting growth and revitalization. Presumably this is the healing that I've been looking for, associated with farming, druidism, and control over the living world. Now again, I'm not locked into it just because I had it, but the more you branch out, you can't compound the effects, but you're not entirely sure. You mainly lurk in this game. Yeah, so I think you're saying here that there's nothing inherently wrong with combining order and chaos, but like just because they are ultimately opposing forces, you don't get to unlock these preposterous combos like you would more complementary abilities, I think is what you're trying to say. I mean, it would make sense, right? Because if you've got something which is about swarming people, like the chaos seems to, one of those seem to be about creating these massive swarms of tier 1 units that become, you know, much more powerful than what their normal stats would suggest. And you bring in a tome which is all about having, you know, these massive titans on the battlefield. Sort of by definition, you would not expect those to be complementary powers. This is the challenge, right? The first time you're looking at something like a tome system, you're paralyzed by choice, which is wonderful, but I know some people are screaming at their computer for me to just make a choice. But I am interested in healing. So temporary hit points, 2 regeneration, 6 temporary hit points at the end of its turn in battle. I suspect they've introduced temporary hit points because I remember, I think it was in Age of Wonders, I can't remember if it was 3 or Planetfall, but I would try to extend combat so that I could get some free healing in, and I think that's exactly why temporary hit points are a thing. So improved blight damage, but at the cost of physical damage. This is interesting, but I'm not sold. Like, I think we can do better. Tome of Beasts. Walk beside animals of nature, specialize in summoning and buffing animals and becoming stronger when standing next to them. Mark as prey, becomes distracted, sundered defense, animal kinship, makes the target race more bestial and connected to animals. +10 and crit. Summons a random animal onto the target world hex. Small chance of summoning a tier 2. All friendly animals and cavalries gain +2 default bolster defense. I mean, tempting, but we haven't been focusing on animals that much. Okay, if we follow through on further order. Faithful Whispers. I don't think I'm going to worry about that. Now, a bolster. I mean, we have a lot of support already. I think what I'm really lacking is a huge damage dealer. So maybe that should be... Maybe thinking about some damage dealers would be where I want to go with this, which would actually probably bring me back to that Materium tome. But again, we'll see what we're working with here. Healing Prayer. So again, I feel we already have this with one of our existing units. Wrath of the Faithful. Target enemy unit sustains 10 spirit damage +5 for each friendly faithful unit in the battle. Staves of Mending. Army Heal is definitely something I've used frequently on the strategic map in Planetfall. So that would almost be an argument for the Tome of Faith alone, but we'll see if we can do better. So Cryomancy, this is Shadow Affinity, so is opposed to our nature. But again, we're not necessarily... Vine Prison's considered OP. Interesting. So that would have been under Tome of Roots. That's actually the one I didn't look over. So summon 5 living Vine units randomly in a 2-hex radius, which live for 3 turns. These don't deal damage, but have a chance to immobilize enemies. I can definitely see why... people would be worried about that. So that's 10. Yeah. Well, I mean, if nothing else, what that does is you've got this unit which is now wasting... So even if it's not... Like, even if they are killed, like, you've just taken away an enemy's turn. And when we were struggling with those, marauders before, it was really just a difference of 1 turn. Like, effectively what happened was the Quillboars were always able to, I think that's their name. They were always able to do enough damage to us that when we replied, we were sort of hitting them with like 1/5 of our strength, and then they were just able to mop us up. So if we could have done something like Living Vine, that would have given us our 1 turn to sort of get into position and deliver the coup de grace. So yeah, okay, maybe I've been a little unkind to the Tome of Roots. We'll see. I'm a little unsure about the poison, but Vine Prison is definitely one to think about. Like I said, the thing I'm thinking about right now is we've done okay in terms of setting ourselves, not the army that I've been deploying a lot, but in terms of our main force, we have been giving ourselves a lot of shielded units, which are good at sort of like giving us a good front line. But the problem is that it doesn't matter if you have this nice good front line if you don't have some damage dealers to go in and like really deliver deliver the victory. So that's kind of a first pass what I'm looking for under tomes here, but again, it depends on what what I see. Part of the reason of going through this stuff is so that you can get some ideas. So specialize in dealing frost damage and inflicting frozen. I mean, that strikes me as another good. I mean, there may not be an equivalent that gives multiple imprisonments, but I can see frozen being an appealing feature. So 90% chance of becoming frozen. If unsuccessful, it inflicts slow. So that definitely feels like a good one. The White Witch accesses battle mage unit that inflicts frozen. Frost arrows. Okay. So, I mean, this has poison equivalents here. I know that the total damage goes up. Okay, I'm not opposed to this, but I do believe it is contradictory to nature. Yeah. Tome of Souls. Harvest souls from your enemies and create undead creatures. Specialize in expendable units and starting with your soul economy. So incidentally, one thing that actually makes me less inclined to pick these ones is I do like my noble crusading frog knights, and I don't like the idea of them turning into like death knights. So as cool as this sounds, I'm a little less inclined to do it just because it's not consistent with the type of character that I want to do. You like campaign map damage spells like the lightning one, so damage before the battle, they even turn around and leave after a turn of it. Yeah, again, that was one that I used a lot in Planetfall. So, actually, to be honest with you, one of my big turnarounds in Age of Wonders 3 was realizing just how powerful strategic level spells were. I do have a tendency to like the healing ones a little bit more, basically because they help me have sort of escapes if I find myself in a bad position. But obviously the way, like, it's not good to build a strategy around the fact that you get caught flat-footed sometimes. Like, that's just an invitation to think a little bit more sensibly in terms of strategy. So, this reminds me of the snooty elves in Planetfall, actually. I think I'm going to skip over that. I didn't look at it too closely, but I don't want froggy death knights, so... I think we may be back to... Yeah, so... Okay. I will just double check here. Tome of Warding. This was about protection, and I want to be a little bit more careful on ones that are contenders here. So the Phantasm Warrior would be another shield unit. Bolstering support, bolstered resistance. Okay, so we've already got a lot of resistances here. And I feel that it hasn't... It's been okay, but I don't think it's been delivering... I don't think it's been delivering the protection that we need. So we'll eliminate that one. Tome of Evocation is definitely one that I'm considering here because of the different types of damage. Channeling Tower also improves our mana, so I can see some advantages there. So the unit enchantment deals 2 lightning damage, 30% chance of becoming electrified, so damage over time. The Lesser Storm Spirit is a shock unit. Okay, so that's appealing. And then I think Lightning Torrent is the one that Llewellyn's referring to. So this is on the short list for sure. think I'm going to skip over the Chaos ones. So what I wanted to take a look here at Materium was just to see if it delivers the heavy hitters, or if Lightning's the way I want to go on this. Physical magic associated with resource extraction, transmutation, mastery over the mundane physical world, so dwarves and chaos dwarves. I realize there's more products than Games Workshop. It's probably the easiest way to refer to it. Sundered Defense. Okay, I can definitely see some appeal there. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm just going to take a quick look at the Tome of Faith. So Mending Touch. So we don't really have... I know there was a damage type here. The wavy lines. I hate that I don't know. Spirit damage. Okay, so the Copper Golem, 60 health compared to the Storm Spirit, which is 40. Melee strike 12 and 2. I'm assuming the 12 comes from my race. So that's compared with the 882. Bonuses to resistance, extra range, production, which maybe, maybe not. Gargoyle. That's kind of appealing. Yeah, so this is basically just punch them to death. Okay, so the Materium ones I'm reconsidering. I'm not completely sold on the Tome of Beasts yet. So I think I'm going to go a little bit more aggressive and pick the Tome of Evocation for the Lightning. Yeah, I did see the...
utilize the protective potential of magic. It follows that you can employ it in a more devastating fashion in order to visit harm onto your foes. The thunder and the fury of the skies is at your disposal if you prove yourself worthy. Its tempestuous, destructive force is a perfect tool for blasting apart your enemies.
I do like... I'm actually kind of sad that there are not more quotes like this in Age of Wonders 4, but I'd like them when I hear them. Yeah, Llewellyn, I think it was a single target one though, right? Like, you're absolutely right, it was a very high damage one. I do want to see what I can do with electricity. That may be the wrong choice, but in this case, I think at least in this case I've got an idea in terms of how I want to use this. So do I improve my existing units with lightning damage? I don't think I should be summoning the new unit quite yet. I feel there's better things that I can do. Let's go for the lightning blades. Okay, so I think we were going to build farms, which, I mean, logically, you know, the ones that'll only be farms probably make the most sense. I don't know if we want to go north. I think probably the two farms we get will be here. Okay. Work harder, please. Still haven't. Invest your Imperium. You seem to have a lot of Imperium at your disposal. Imperium can be spent to help the growth of your empire in different ways. Acquire Empire skills, boost allegiance with free cities to speed up the pace at which you can rank up your diplomatic relations. Found new cities to gain control over certain parts of the map and expand the reach of your empire, and buy population for your city. So definitely I was saving some of this up to found a new city, but I'm saving too much. So maybe we try for another population. So, I now have the option of some... Well, there were a few that were about boosts for... Sorry, it was about the farms. I did want to improve my food production. That was what the 2 farms were about. But I think I have been putting off... some defensive buildings, and given that we've got a hostile city nearby, maybe we should be investing in our our protection. I also need to figure out how to build a conduit at some point. Start with the battlements. And I am curious if I'm going to have to fight next turn. Yep. But we do have the extra fanatic, so let's see if I can stop embarrassing myself against the quilled ones. Okay, now first of all, I don't see... Oh, that's interesting. I would have thought that they would have brought in their allies. Okay, well, I'm not going to complain about it. I don't know if this will matter for the flank, but... Where I can, I'd like to surround everyone around the unit with a shield wall. Guess I can get a little bit more distance, but I don't think it makes as much sense. Okay, so they want us to come to them. Perfectly understandable why. This is actually a harder one to deal with, just because, like, with the shock unit, you get a damage bonus when it says charge, based on the per hex traveled. So I guess 1, 2, 3. I mean, this would not be a bad place to put the boars or the piglets. The problem is that we can't actually close the distance, so they are going to get some free hits on us. So maybe what we do the same trick as before, and we just try and bundle everyone up to maximize the protection, and then make them pay next turn. And so with that in mind, I'm also going to do... I was debating on the condemnation because it does cost us mana, but that will give us something. I'm not really convinced this is going to do anything, but I also probably should have paid attention to where I was moving, but... I'm kind of lucky that I got grazed there. This is going to be the time that the fanatics beat the crap out of the... Actually, there's one other thing that I can do. Nice. Okay, so this one resisted the stun. So I think it makes the most sense for us to beat them up. And the aim here, of course, is to take advantage of the fact that they're condemned. Alright. believe this should maximize the damage that they do. So this one was stunned. So oh, I probably should have tried to move them in cover, but that's fine. I don't believe they have a way of attacking this unit because they're trapped. That's interesting they didn't attack. Anyways, the Fanatics are expendable, so we'll hit the spiky things with the Fanatics, with the exception, I guess maybe we let the ranged unit do its thing first. So obviously we're going to have to keep that out of the fight moving forward. The only thing I can say is this was costly mana-wise, but we didn't lose anything, so that's a good start. Alright, day 17 dawns. There's going to be quite a bit to do. In fact, I'm going to get a quick save in here because I may want to take different approaches. But first of all, we want to clear out the monster den. So we could hit auto, but we're not going to learn if we don't practice. So this should basically be a repeat of last time. That's a new one. So again, we want to make sure that we're careful in terms of the timing. Yeah, actually, I thought that was true for all ranged, but oh yeah, no, that's right. I think it would have to be a skirmisher, and these things are pure range. Oh, it's a soldier. Oh no, soldier is an experience thing. Yeah, so ranged unit and attack from this unit takes out targets from afar. It is somewhat vulnerable. Its accuracy is affected by line of sight. Cannot fire its main ranged attack when engaged in melee. And it only has Quill Shot, which is a ranged attack. So no, that's definitely a ranged thing. I think mages count as ranged. Some of them may be support, but I think what I was mistaking them for was skirmishers. It's just that, like a Razorback, you would kind of assume... the thing is that it's got Quill Hide, so it does 3 damage when you attack it with melee. And, you know, just you have a unit that comes up close, it takes damage, you're like, oh, there was like a physical attack, when clearly that didn't happen. It's just, you know, sometimes you develop heuristics, and, you know, 9 times out of 10 they work out, but in practice, you know, that just made me say nonsense. Like, I should have known better, but I wasn't really thinking. Okay, so we want to make sure that this unit stays protected. If possible, we want to limit the distance that the piggies can travel. Again, I do want to take advantage of the fact that I can put up a shield wall with this unit, so we'll move them in somewhat aggressively. And unfortunately, we don't really have much in terms of cover. I don't believe... I think in Planetfall there was a cover system where, like, you could hide behind things and they would limit your... they'd limit the damage that you could take. There may be something like that which is more implicit. I noticed that a lot of the terrain effects you have to, like, mouse over to sort of see exactly how it affects things. But I don't think it's worth spending that much time... planning for. So I think in this case we'll just charge these folks through and wish them well in their endeavors. Okay, so there's an obvious first step here. Try and stun everything. Okay, so piggies are not stunned. So in this case, we'll start with condemnation because we've got a fanatic that we want to do damage to the pigs from. Just to clarify, it's always good whenever I see an effect. It's so most of the time in combat, I tend to like I tend to find that I get clobbered because I don't read the abilities of the enemy units, but I also run into the same problem that I don't appreciate some of my own abilities. So in this case here, Starblade's unit has +1 fire damage, lightning damage, or frost damage per stack. So in this case, we've gotten our first stack from casting a spell. It's not relevant here, or maybe it is. Maybe I should have double-checked that. But yeah, the main aim here was just to try and limit their actions. And of course, this gives us time to sort of move around. I think the best option for me in this case is to let these guys handle the enemy's right flank. We'll move these fanatics in on the Razorbacks. And again, the scout will kind of do its own thing. The one thing I don't want to have happen is so basically the scout's sort of safe up to this line. It basically means they're not going to be participating in the combat, but I can live with that. Okay. So I may want to focus on the pigs, but I definitely want to get in here to prevent them from being able to fire their quills. As it is, we're going to be able to wipe out the piglets. I wonder, do they look as deranged as in Planetfall? Close. I think that's a sufficiently deranged piggy. So I think we're going to be able to finish them off with until we bring in both, so... yeah. Now I'm going to take the bleeding damage in response. Is this worth fun? Yeah. So why does that say 2 now? It feels like Stunning Flash went down in terms of the damage it does. Anyways, this is so I can hurt the boar. So what I'm trying to do here, the boar does have some options in terms of moving back to be able to do some ranged attacks. I actually wish it would show me its range from movement. But what I'm trying to do here is I want to try and move my ranged unit to deal with the wild speaker, while also ensuring that they're not going to be affected by the razor. So actually, the movements that it has, I should feel pretty safe. I do want to try and put myself behind cover just in case. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we deliver the finale. But it makes us feel good about having done something. Okay, so one of the options it might have taken would have been to try and move forward out of the threat. That doesn't seem to have happened, so... Actually, in retrospect, it would have been better to use the range unit on the Razorback. Anyways, doesn't matter. We'll be able to finish him off with the Fanatics. So obviously, I can do very well when I outnumber the enemy. Battle won by Dafaldea, so extra food and a Wand of Lightning Strike deals a damage in a 3 hex line. Let's open this hero screen. So yeah, we've gotten a few items to play around with. Oh no, it's just the one. It's not clear that I'll have an immediate use for it, but Now I don't mind the idea of moving back, because it seems to me that this is Sublime. This is not. This isn't the Marauders. So if I get to heal my people a bit, we can focus on that. Also, I get to see what's going on in the Temple of the Tome. Okay, Archer battlements. Basically, I want to, where I can, I'd like to focus on the boosted stuff. I'm doing okay for gold. Knowledge wouldn't be bad, though. So the Estate Hall wants a third Forester. I think we'll attract population again, because that gives me the option of the Forester. Do I really want to be getting this close to an enemy region? Probably not. The Estate Hall's not a bad investment. After that, I actually think the Arcane Institute might make sense. What I'm specifically trying to avoid here is anything that costs mana. So, we've tied up a bunch of gold off of this. Again, I apologize for the alerts not showing up, but I really do appreciate all of the follows from you. It's been a while since I've had this kind of attention. I noticed that the YouTube channel's been doing a bit better because of the Book of Hours stuff, but I actually didn't think that Age of Wonders would be as popular, because it feels like everybody's playing this game, which is wonderful, because I love to see a company like Triumph do so well. But thank you all for the support that you're showing. I really appreciate that. Okay, so it's not clear to me if this is an either-or situation, or if this is a question of... we'll definitely want the experience. So we'll do Career Soldiers. Now this is because we don't have enough Imperium. If I want, I have the option of road building. Road building can be enabled. In the army panel, roads are built on hexes along which the army moves and cost 3 gold per hex. I don't mind that, but I might want to save it for the Allegiance. And then expanded governance, increase the city cap by 1. Ah, okay, so this is helpful for me, actually. I should be thinking of the city cap is basically 2... I've got 2 cities that are currently... Like, I've got 2 resources that are currently being unused. All right, thank you very much, Cozy Warm Depression. It's been a pleasure to have you in chat. I really appreciate you kind of having some back and forth on this. For somebody who lurks with this game, you've definitely helped me find a little bit of perspective that I was missing before. And that's actually one thing I wanted to say, too. I'm always very cautious about opening the chat to conversations about gameplay mechanics, but this is one of the few times that I feel that there have been people who are knowledgeable about the game in here who've really let me sort of make my own mistakes while still giving me information that's relevant. And I just want to say, like, I appreciate that that can be very difficult for people. So I wanted to just take a second and say thank you very much for that. This is definitely the sort of thing that makes me want to do more Age of Wonders 4. Okay, a new rally has started. So I think this is where we wind up using those points for new units.
You have opened the Rally of the Lieges overview. Here, you can rally armies from your vassals and conquered ancient wonders. The amount of units you can rally is determined by how many vassals and ancient wonders you own.
Rally happens regularly, and this can be sped up by spending gold. You can come back to the Rally of Lieges at any time before the next rally starts to recruit more units. So where I can, I'd like to... Where I can, I would like to get as much as I can out of this, although honestly, with 2 recruitment points, there's not a whole lot that I've got. So we've got a Soother. This is a support unit from the Arcane Tigrans. So what is the big thing that this will give me here? Magical wards. Okay, it's not bad to have one of these because I obviously use a lot of. I do use a lot of casting. Ah, okay, and the healing. So that's kind of the thing that's missing from this stack here, and I could break out the scout as its own unit. I do like the spell shield. I think that gives me... So the shield wall is nice. The Star Blades is kind of neat. So this would have been the one I would have picked on its own. Now, I noticed this says Tier 1. Polearm is kind of an interesting one. I haven't quite been able to figure those out. Like, there's a bit of finesse that I still need to figure out for these ones. But it's a specialist in taking out large threats, and cavalry and can counter shock unit charges. So the catch here is I need to pick one. And I wouldn't have picked this originally, but... Oh no, sorry, I can pick two, so a Soother and an Arcane God. So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't normally have done that, but... Okay. Am I ready for a fight? Yes, but I probably should. This is going to be a tough one for me, so it's worth taking a shot here. Obviously, our Dawn Defender has seen better days as well. So our front is not that strong. Let's maybe take a look at what we're up against. So... Snow Spirit, it's a skirmisher, so both melee and ranged. Can do freezing. So freezing phase teleports the unit to target hex and deals damage to adjacent enemy units. So this kind of counters my shield units, who are kind of all about sticking together and defending my own units. Slippery, this unit does not trigger opportunity attacks, and Swift ignores the effects of terrain in combat. Do I have an idea about the range? Okay, so it's a range of 4. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. It's also very strong in terms of health. There's a White Witch, so we know that she can freeze people. Freezing Blast is a 90% chance to turn someone frozen. The Swarming Manlings. Humanoid beings who are organized and entrepreneurial, albeit impatient at times. Their blood is strong, which allows them to recuperate from wounds faster than others. With their talent to learn new skills, they can adapt to almost any situation. They take great pride in their refined traditions and wish for others to reach similar heights. They find their strength in fast population growth and overwhelming numbers. They are blessed with an innate talent for spellcasting. And then we've got a number of lesser snow spirits, so this is going to be the bulk of what we need to deal with. So they can inflict a bit of freezing. So they're also skirmishers, but fortunately they don't teleport in and crush us. Okay. So the witch is definitely a high priority to take out. I am going to need to think a little bit about how I handle the snow spirit, because freezing phase is definitely going to be something that poses a challenge. But we don't learn if we don't practice, so. Okay, so if I look at its movement here, then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So effectively, I should treat it as being able to teleport in and freeze my people at any point. Our Wand of Lightning Strike deals damage in a 3-hex line, so that I probably want to save. Although I do have Sprint. That still doesn't do the trick. Yeah, they're going to be able to kind of lock me down. So I didn't need to use the sprint there, unfortunately, but it's not worth spending that much time figuring out. I am going to be aggressive in terms of moving up. So this will probably be the scariest point here because, again, the unit would be able to move in and freeze up this unit. But what I'm going to do in return... I'll keep these guys in reserve. It's a little wimpy just because they're not going to be as effective to, to fire on the units that come in here. But what I want to try and do is take advantage of the shield wall for my front line. And then I basically kind of want to see what decisions they wind up making here. So, I don't know. It may not be the best, but I want to see how this turns out. Now that's interesting. They've all lined up for me to use my magical staff on them. But if I'm in an enemy zone of control, I can't do that, so I have to go up like this. Oh, that still does the trick, though. So the one thing I don't get to do is affect the witch on that, which I'm a little sad about, but now what we want to do is sort of start, like, not locking these units down before they overwhelm us. I kind of question this choice, but let's go for it. Do I feel confident enough to take on 2 of these things? Well, if I don't, then I leave it open for this unit, so I better be... Now, I screwed up because I should have awakened this unit before they did their attack, but... And as it happens, we're kind of locked into fighting this unit anyway. So I think at this point I say in for a penny, in for a pound. And we put a brave face on it. Although again, I suspect what they'll do is they'll walk around and melee strike these units here. I think we're going to have big problems to deal with. So my suspicion here will be that they teleport in to freeze all of these units, but that allows us to sort of collapse in on the main unit. Okay, we were expecting that. Now that hurts me. I was kind of banking on being able to use my hero to get us out of this trouble. Oh, that's right. They're slippery so they can get away from the retaliation. Yeah, that was actually very poorly considered on my part. But we'll do our best. So the first thing I should be doing, we did say we wanted to take out the witch. But I do also need to help my people. So, of course, the question here is, do I do the awakening on a unit? This unit's awakened, this unit is not. And again, I should have awakened this before I did the damage, but too late. This is gonna sting. Wow, that took the whole turn. Alright, that was actually very foolish. So that's fine. This is the sort of stuff that we need to learn, right? So if I say I only get one move off of something like that... Oh, actually... Well, too late now. I should have turned to face. Yeah, not good. We'll probably wind up resetting this fight, but... So my main damage dealers have been obliterated. Yeah, we're not doing so hot. All right, so we will... so there's a few things that I can do. First of all, over channel, I think makes sense. I should have done that earlier. At this point, we are going to focus on the main bad guy. Now... I think condemnation all around is probably the way I want to handle this. This unit... I thought was awakened. Well, let's go for it. Ooh. I don't think this is going to fix it, but Gives us a little bit of a lease on life. So essentially here we need to rely on the main character carrying us, which is entirely possible. So what I'm most interested in is units that can be taken out in one go. So I'm not expecting miracles here, but you never know. Alright, that was grazed. Now, presumably they're going to want to go after the ranged unit here, but maybe they're just going to pile on my my hero. It's good if they do, because I should be able to heal them. Okay, so I only have Awakening, I don't have Healing. Unfortunately, this Magic Blast isn't going to deliver the goods. So that frees up that unit. Maybe I should have tried Awakening this unit because I could have got it for free, but... Okay, so that's probably to prevent the heal, although this unit should still be able to survive it. Oh, he's running. Doesn't affect the status effect, but... Oh, I should have at least moved this unit. Yeah, that took out my hero. So obviously there was a bunch of screw-ups made during that. There's a couple... So... I shouldn't be happy with how that combat turned out, but there's actually a couple of things that were useful that I learned out of that in terms of how the interactions work with like being pinned by a unit. And then there's a couple of inefficiencies that are turning into bad habits, so not taking advantage of the ability to cast more than once, for instance, little things like that. But those are all things that I'll sort out. Okay, so we're definitely retrying that. It might be interesting to take a look and see how an auto-resolve handles it. But I'm not convinced yet that that's the most important thing I can do. So, I'm gonna take a similar approach as last time. But I am gonna focus a little bit more on the center. So we know they get a free freeze at the start. I can basically get anywhere that I need for the start, so I'm going to keep the... Well, no, there's one small thing I'm going to do. So everybody gets the shield wall bonus. Okay, so they're kind of pussyfooting around too. So I do want to overchannel so that we can... So I get 2 spells this time. So one of them would be Awakened Inner Radiance. This unit should already be awakened, so... Or do maybe 2 Condemned is actually the way to go. The real question comes down to whether or not I feel that this unit's actually going to be able to hold its own against this enemy unit here. They're okay, and I suppose I'm going to have to deal with the reality that it is going to come piling in on me on this side if I don't deal with it. So maybe I bite the bullet and initiate the fight. I should have awakened them. So the tricky part about this is that this unit's going to get piled on. I thought that was going to give it a 90%. So that's apparently more effective. Again, I could have awakened it and didn't. So again, the witch is going to have her revenge on that unit, but I am curious about one thing. If I move up here... Okay. So this actually allows me to defend this unit unexpectedly. And I do kind of question the wisdom of bringing the Sun Priest in aggressively like this, but... I'm gonna go for it. Okay, let's see what the response is. Interesting. Okay, so again, the witch is definitely one that we want to take out. So I open myself to flanks here, but this is a unit that's intended to be sort of moving in aggressively. So unfortunately, that's not enough to finish off the witch. I don't see any option but to take this guy on with the hero. So the question is, can I take them out with the archer? Seems like I can. And of course, that opens the possibility of bringing the shield unit in. So we're not going to be able to heal for another turn. Now, unfortunately, we're not able to move in on the witch here, and we don't have any condemned units to be able to make a move on. But I will at least take advantage of the flank. And I don't think the White Witch is slippery. So that does give me an advantage in terms of being able to attack her with the Sun Priest, even though I may get tied up by this unit. Although basically if they want to come after my Sun Priest, they're going to be able to no matter what. They'll also have to pick between taking on this unit. Actually, if they go in here, they're going to be able to tie up the Sun Priest and the Archer. I'm still going to go for it here just because being able to do so much damage with the Magic Blast is appealing. And we might get a crit. Or we just graze. Oh, hang on. That was a bad call. I should have actually moved back, because I thought for some reason I would be piling on the damage like the melee attacks. The drawback here is I've got multiple units that I need to heal. The question is, who do I feel is in the most danger? So the first thing I want to do, yeah, so we'll take out this unit because we can clear it out for free. So that frees this unit up to heal someone, and I think this is the most appropriate healing. Now, the reason I say that is I've got an archer and a dragon to go in and help. So we take out the witch like so. Cool. Okay, so we clearly need to condemn this guy. And essentially the melee strikes at this point need to be about reducing its ability to damage my own units. Ouch. Yeah, they're able to take them out. Drat. I actually think it's worth it, even though I'm going to take the retaliation damage. I actually think it's worth it to save my ally here. So I wasn't banking on the morale, but I'm thinking that will probably help us. Yeah. Cool. So we're no longer awakened, but I think I can manage without. You love to see it. All right. I do have the option of awakening someone. Okay, so that was about clearing out the Marauders. And again, the Marauders did not present an immediate threat. I do at some point want to investigate that ancient site, but clearly here we need to heal up. So, and I'm not gonna say no to a Ring of Vampirism. So the lifesteal. This unit's attacks heal it for 10 temporary hit points when they hit. For repeating attacks, only 5 temporary hit points. Okay, so I've got an option for archery. I don't think that makes sense. We have been focusing on defense a lot. But a plus 10 for weapon damage is not bad. And alternatively, I can invest on the lightning damage. I suppose the question here would be, or I can unlock a signature skill. So we've got Visions of Woe. Enemy units in a 1-hex radiance fumble their attacks for 1 turn. Reckless Rage, 30% melee damage, but 2 sunder defense and resistance. Warding Bond, damage sustained by the target friendly unit is transferred to this unit with 20% reduction. That's kind of tempting, although I do tend to bring this guy out in the front line, so I'm not sure extra points of damage are quite worth it. Virulent Outbreak. Enemy units in 2-hex have a 90% chance of becoming diseased or poisoned. Restoration. Heals target friendly unit for 40 temporary hit points and dispels negative status effects. A target friendly unit that is dead can be revived with 60% of its total hit points. That seems very strong. Draining Blade. Lifesteal. And that's it. I think I'm going to go for Restoration. And then the question here basically comes down... So, like, I can eliminate archery right away for sure. Physical damage reduction only gets me so far. I mean, I'm okay for resistances as well. I don't know. Let's get the status effect. Okay, so we're going to start our journey back to Dawnspire. I think it makes sense to... So, I mean, if we're healed up, maybe we try the Cursed Keep, but honestly, at this point, we need to be making our move on Sublime. Preferably with a second army. I mean, there may be an argument to try and found a city, too. I'm not actually sure I know how to do that. I don't think the tutorials told me how to, but honestly I don't think that's the action to take. Okay, we honestly need to be coming back here with an army, I think. Although it does seem to be indicating, nope, not what I wanted to do. Oh well. Okay. As much as I'd like to pick those things up, I think we gotta get out of here. So I'm not sure what treaty they were referring to. Oh, it was Boost Allegiance. So, boost negotiations, adding half the required allegiance to reach the next diplomatic state. The cost of this action increases with the amount of allegiance gained. So that'll cost us 78. Yeah, we don't have the Imperium to be able to found a city. I don't feel great about this, but I am going to boost the allegiance just because I want them to... Well, no, flourishing vassalage in 4 turns. Maybe we just wait. Our diplomatic state with Oraculum is now bonded vassalage. The free city shares 40% of its income, shares all of its magic materials, contributes 3 to Rally of Lieges, and we get a decrease in trade costs. Neither of which I really need. Well, hang on. Knowledge is nice. What are we doing for time? Okay. Technically, I should be finishing now. But let's maybe see if I can Hang on. Oh, they're being recruited now. I'll make an effort to take these out. What do they do? So, nasty melee strike, drain morale, crushing anguish. Target unit with morale of low or worse has a chance of dying instantly. The lower the target's morale is, the more this chance increases. If the unit does not die, it sustains 30 damage instead. And how much you want to guess that this thing can slip through my... Oh, interesting, but they're weak to shock. Okay, for each morale level an attacker has below neutral, this unit gains defense and resistance. Pass through can move through obstacles, and shadow. The spirit is corrupted by the touch of Urath's magic with spirit resistance, immunity to changes in morale. Slippery, which I think means that they, no opportunity attacks, and not stopped by enemy zone of control. So they're going to be able to cast Crushing Anguish no matter what. However, we are in a pretty good position in terms of the damage that we do. Let's give it at least one more turn. Now I suppose I should consider, what do I want to use my...
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
Thank you very much, whoever just followed, and again I apologize for not having the images ready to go.
When you're inside the domain belonging to your enemy, you can pillage their province improvements to gain resources.
Move an army onto a province improvement and select pillage province. Okay, I'm curious if there's a penalty for that. Doesn't count as an... Oh, right, because we're not on it. That's why. Okay, these guys need to heal, and we'll bring them closer to the bad guys. So what's the deal with the... Okay, needs another turn. I don't think it'll hurt to bring these folks along for the ride, so... Although I do need to be still recruiting. So we've got 2 Dusk Hunters. Let's add... Okay, so... My go-to has been the Dawn Defender so far, but that's a tier 1. I do think a Sun Priest makes sense to bring along. And the question is, how many Daylight Spears do I bring in? So, again, these are good versus shock. When they're awakened, they get extra retaliation attacks. $75, 3 and 2, 14, 2. That's weird that they don't have... I would have thought that they'd have resistance just because they're the Crusading Croakers. I'm thinking maybe we do go for the Daylight Spears. They're considerably more expensive, but we can always pay for that, so we'll at least bring 1 in. I'm going to avoid using the Imperium because I do need to start thinking about founding more colonies. And yeah, I don't know what we do about the Cursed Keep, to be honest. I don't think we're going to have the health to be able to handle it, but I am, however, going to send my scouts out to see the sights. I think what we'll do here, we'll split the army, so I've got... the Inferno Puppy can join sort of the... This used to be the Army of Misfit Toys. This is actually... It's kind of established itself as a force in its own. But I should still be scouting, so... An infestation is sending invading forces. Okay, so we'll prepare for that, although, again, we'll be in fairly good shape. We're going to have 2 more units. We do need to start working on our gold, but I think that's kind of where we're heading for this already. And we're on our way to getting extra units as well as bringing the ruler back in. So we should be okay in that regard. I know I said 1 more turn, but 1 more turn after the 1 more turn. So, I think this is as good as we're going to get as far as health is concerned. I think it's okay for us to still smell the roses as far as movement goes. This province is occupied by a hostile army and will not produce any city income. Yeah, so I don't see any reason not to pillage. I'm sure I will find out the consequences. Okay, Lightning Blades. Unit enchantment. Type of spell that grants bonus to a specific group of units while it's active. So there's a small argument to hold off on the fight so that I can equip the lightning damage against the units that are weak to it, but I don't want to be too passive. The Evoker is tempting, particularly because I believe they have a there's like a discount that you get to magic. So alternatively, we can do the Inspiring Chant, which will gain morale, or a Lightning Torrent. Yeah, this is the... kind of feel like I gotta do that one. That's expensive, but I definitely want to keep it active. Dormant Enchantment, I guess, yeah, there's only a certain period of time that we can keep that going, so the Arcane Guard, the Spell Shield, and the Soother. Basically, they become like my existing units. I have been wanting to stockpile some more mana, so I'm going to leave it there, but looking at that health, there's no way we're going to be able to work the Cursed Keep. I do want to move this unit in so I can start building a better army, though. I definitely want to get an idea in terms of what the rivals are up to. I do kind of like the fact that when you're in the woods, it tells you, or it limits your vision. I know that's a basic thing, like I'm pretty sure, like I know Civ 6 has actually made it so that you can see mountains before you can see the lower lands. I think that's a nice touch, but I don't know, it's little details like that that are kind of fun. Greetings, exalted Lord Dafaldea. May wisdom guide your path in this realm. So it's actually, we're on better terms than we were with these guys. So the gnarled frostlings, her icy filigree sparkles catching iridescent sheets of boreal ghost light. Think not to captivate this one, for her heart is frigid. Arctica haunts the snowy drifts of winter, leaving no footprints. Goddess to her frostling subjects, they alone tolerate her frigid isolation. Specialized people who adore the ice and snow, frostlings thrive in inhospitable glacial realms. Their frigid adaptation allows them to raid the rich lands that border the frozen wastes, spreading their cold, unfeeling ice as a blizzard. Okay, so these aren't necessarily natural allies, just kind of taking a look at the description. They count as neutral, but I noticed when I, where was it? I put the frostlings, gnarled frostlings. It does say ruthless raiders, so that does seem to be a bit more of an evil-oriented one, as opposed to the arcane tigrans, which are neutral at best. Protective Sage, a vigilant ruler who prefers vassalization and magic. They like empires that have summoned units, which we have. Dislikes empires with likes empires with vassals. We also have that. Dislikes empires with larger domain, and dislikes empires that start wars. So we're going to be in a decent I think we'll be in decent shape as far as... So again, not natural allies, but somebody who I think we can do business with. Now, I've learned that if you don't send the welcome gift, trying to make relations better is more costly. So even though I'm short on gold, I am going to send the welcome gift. I accept this gesture of goodwill, Dafaldea. Thank you. I don't think there's much else that we can do. Maybe a non-aggression pact? Wizard's Bond? Both rulers agree to a Wizard's Bond to improve Empire relations and access new treaties and diplomatic states. Yeah, you know what? Okay, that's neat. So you don't get to set the terms. The game will give it to you. I actually like that a lot more than trying to mess around with the numbers. Alright, that's actually really informative. So they have at least one more city, probably more than that. So that obviously means I need to get on top of expanding my borders. Yeah, so everybody will be involved in this fight, or they won't be because we can't start the fight yet. I keep forgetting that. I think there's a way, like, I could probably take the pigs and start the fight here, but let's just do this the normal way. Okay, there's the Marauders. Wow. I keep forgetting about the tiers in these games, so we are very, very weak. Okay, so the Gortus Piglet, Spell Shields, yeah, everybody gets this, so... We'll figure out how to make this, integrate all of this later. Alright. Encountering the Harbingers of Misfortune. After a tense search and a long march, your army comes face to face with the roaming corrupt souls. The sight of the terrible creatures causes fear to ripple through the crusading croakers in your army. The deafening silence betrays the hesitation of your troops. Their morale won't hold. The corrupt souls have noticed your troops and prepare to attack. What will you do? So we could declare a bounty for whoever brings me the head of a corrupt soul. We don't have the cash, so I suspect we are going to say discourage attackers, minus 10 morale. Not great against a unit like this, but we have the numbers, so we can at least throw some bodies at the problem. So these things are warriors. So the ideal is actually going to be to get the ranged units involved here. But basically, as long as we avoid getting in melee range at the start here, we'll be fine. Lightning pigs.
This is a Polon unit, a frontline melee fighter. With its first strike and charge resistance abilities, it is perfectly suited for absorbing enemy melee attacks.
So there is a strong possibility that they're going to try and move in on these units here. But I do want to try and be able to rain some pain on these guys. All right. Again, make sure we're not touching the border. And we have got, so it's a soother. We don't quite need that yet. So I'll try and keep them a little more central. That's interesting. So I think I am going to try and go for the stun. This is the only one we kind of have a guarantee of being able to do some damage on. I still think it makes sense for us to try and stun these things. Okay, that works very well for us. So the maximum damage is to charge in and do the max. Even if we move them out after the fact. You idiots! So this is a good time for me to do that healing. So obviously next turn we condemn this unit, but this is going to be the one that fights back. Okay, let's think about how we do this. So probably best, yeah, if I can take this unit out before anybody fights. Cool. I may not even need to worry about the condemned at this point. So if I want, I can try and go for a charge. So we saved ourselves the mana. And nobody had to die. Well, two guys had to die, but not the relevant ones. Okay, Harbingers of Misfortune Aftermath. Now that the corrupt souls are gone from your lands, the Crusading Croakers Council contacts you again. Marvelous work, Daffaldea. Just marvelous. We managed to contain any panic with regards to the corrupt soul sightings. So it seems that we're in the clear, all thanks to you, of course. The Crusading Croakers will hear of your victory. Perhaps our superstitious beliefs can be transformed into a virtue of our people. All cities of the Crusading Croakers of your empire gain 20 city stability for 6 turns. So we can say, this victory proves the Crusading Croakers are true warriors. 118 draft in Dawnspire. I don't think I need to worry that much about the units, especially because we're looking for cash. This victory shows that the Crusading Croakers should build better defenses. I don't mind that. Or alternatively, it illustrates that we can dominate any foe. The Imperium's going to be what allows me to build a new city, which is tempting, but I do like building more buildings. I do need to think a little bit about the planning, because I think like you can have a ridiculous number of improvements in your main city. So I do think it makes sense to have an outpost, but maybe something that's a little bit closer to the water. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out at some point. I think it makes sense for us to heal our units. And I suppose the other thing I'd want to figure out is there a better division of... So maybe I'll keep these specialists in the same group. We'll give them one zealot. And then these guys will join up with the puppy. Okay. I don't think it would hurt at all to figure out what the enemy's lands look like. So I think we'll just let this carry on. I'm debating as to whether or not Dormant Enchantment makes sense. I think we're going to hoard our mana for a bit. Your army is trespassing due to external changes. If you move your army out of the domain this turn, you will not incur a relations penalty or a grievance. Okay. Well, that's fine, because we've moved out. Okay, and that's the end of the turn. I know that's kind of a quiet way to finish. I'm feeling a little bit more confident in terms of how this is working. I do think I'm behind in terms of placing my regions. It looks like the way that the AI is playing it is, it does actually look like they're putting their region, their like expansion kind of close to their existing territory. So I may want to consider building an outpost somewhere here and then just moving up to the underground passage. I wouldn't be opposed to that, to be honest, and we're reasonably close, so maybe we'll try that next turn. Not crazy about the fact there's marauders running around here. Obviously we're at war with Sublime. But honestly, the way I see that working is I just need to get my hero in a place where they can heal up a bit. Then we, then we can move to reasonably sized army to subjugate Sublime, and then, then it's kind of our choice in terms of where we go. Also, it's in the corner of the map, so like if you think of it, the grand goal. So if we get sort of an outpost up here, what we sort of get to do is carve this nice little part of the map. We sort of get this all to ourselves. And of course, this is a vassal. So in effect, this is what we've got. So obviously, if both parties were, for whatever reason, were to kind of come after us, we would have to be worried about that. But I think focusing our attention in the corner and then building an outpost up here would not be a bad way of sort of taking advantage of our current position. Again, experience will maybe show us another way, but I'm happy. Actually, one other thing I can do. Because he's on a flying mount. There we go. It's gonna be weird. This may not be ideal in terms of like where I can place everything. But now I'm committed. Alright. So thank you everybody for watching. Again, I've been a little I've been without sort of feedback in terms of how the stream is going. For those of you that have been hanging out, I'm obviously do not mind lurkers at all. They're the only reason why I have people watching. But I am a little curious if you would like me to pass you along to an Age of Wonders 4 streamer. I'm obviously very grateful for that. I will bring the music. I will bring the music back. I'm very grateful for Saturn giving that raid, presumably off of Age of Wonders 4. So if you would like to see more Age of Wonders 4, I'd be very happy to pass it along. I may not know any broadcasters who are doing it. Alternatively, I did see one of my developer friends. He works at Respawn. He had been, I think he is still streaming actually. So I would be happy to put you in touch with him for a little bit of a change of pace. And there's probably a few other broadcasters that I can find online. So while I'm looking it up, does anybody have any preferences in terms of what you'd like to see? So I notice we've got Brian on the Rocks he's working on the Respawn Star Wars FPS. But he's currently playing Street Fighter 6. He's actually the first person to make me play a Street Fighter game. Alternatively, and actually I do notice there's quite a few people playing Age of Wonders 4. I don't think I know any of these people. Are there any Canadians? Is anybody starting? Clearing the first realm. Okay. Well, tell you what. Hey, Dendrian, great to see you. Folks, I'll just take a second here. I will host Draco's Strife, who seems to be doing an early level. But I will just take a quick second here and shout out Dendrian for you. For those of you who are fond of strategy games, I will mention that Dendrian has a nice and thoughtful approach to Against the Storm, which is a wonderful kind of a roguelike city builder by Ermite Games. It's published by Hooded Horse, who's a really interesting strategy publisher. He has been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom lately. And he's actually, just for those of you who do like lurk kind of oriented streams, I do actually recommend him because he's really good at kind of carrying on a broadcast, even if there's not a lot of people chatting inside of it. So that's definitely, hey, Joel67, I should actually just warn you, I'm getting ready to raid someone, but it is going to be raiding a broadcaster called Draco Strife, who does seem to be doing some more Age of Wonders here. So also, it could be that you're coming from El Canu, in which case, bonsoir, je parle petit français. Désolé. But yeah, let's get that raid underway. For those of you that are still looking to hear the sound of my voice for one reason or another, I normally broadcast Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, normally a little bit earlier than what I am doing right now. I try to start around between 7 to 8 Eastern Time. On Monday, I do tend to do strategy games from Hooded Horse, so Against the Storm has been one that I've been doing for a while, although lately I've been doing a wonderful 4X called Old World by Mohawk Games. Merci, Jules. We've been doing... Wednesday, I've been playing the Brace Yourself games again with all apologies and condolences to that team that just had to deal with a lot of layoffs. But we've been enjoying Godless lately, which is a roguelike. Apparently, I've been doing a lot of roguelikes lately. But I've been really enjoying that. It's actually the first auto battler that I've really been able to wrap my head around. But I've also been enjoying Phantom Brigade with them lately. So that's going to be Wednesday. And then Friday, we've been doing Age of Wonders 4. And I'll likely continue doing that. However, once Book of Hours opens its beta again, I will be dedicated towards that. And for those of you that want to see the VODs of that, that is currently available on YouTube, youtube.com/systemchock. So sorry for all the advertising. We got a few more seconds left. Please treat Draco's Strife well. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Again, thank you for hanging out and enjoying this wonderful game with me.